Okay, that'll just elaborate once it turns off, and then we should.
So I'm at a 50th anniversary over the weekend filming, and it's one of the ex-players for the basketball club. They're on the centre court. There's hundreds of people in the stands, and of course they're on a PA system, so they've got a microphone, a wireless mic, to be able to amplify their voice. Now they've obviously given him instructions prior to hold the microphone. You know, when you're holding a microphone, you want to hold it nice and close.
Yeah, you address it, you know, at the front so that the sound goes into the microphone.
So he starts with the microphone nice and close, but very soon he starts drifting the microphone off and the volume starts going. His daughter, who's also standing with him, centre court, hundreds of people watching, pushes his hand up, pushes the mic back up. And then for another 10 seconds it stays there and then starts to drop and he fades off.
Drift away.
And so she reaches back up. And this happens 4 or 5 times. I've got this on camera. This happens 4 or 5 times. He just, like, it's a fade out. And then eventually his other daughter comes around, just holds his hand there and goes, yeah, let me get this for you. Just right there and getting clean sound. And have you ever had occasions where you've been working with either artists or voice actors where they forget the position of the microphone?
Yeah, that's like super common, like almost universally, and it's something that you get taught when you go to this like audio school. All your lecturers will talk about it. If you've ever worked with anyone who needs a microphone, like I said, voice actors, artists, vocalists, even people who are like should be trained to know how to address a microphone and talk to it, and like you say, not just sort of forget that you get that windsock effect. It's super common. I've had it at radio stations. I've had it at actual recording studios. It's up and down the chain of professional to amateur. People do it all the time.
You only notice it when it's a live performance.
It's like really bad on a live performance. Anything that's not live, you can bump it in post.
Yeah.
If you've got your 7 seconds of buffer, even for a live transmission or whatever your buffer is going out, you can even, if you're paying attention, you can sort it out. But like, when it's live, there's nothing. It's live. There's nothing to be done about it. It's like you say. There's mitigation. Someone's paying attention and has to step in.
Now I know we've just jumped in, but everyone, this is Minismee here. He's an amazing audio producer and engineer. I've worked with you probably for about 4 or 5 years now. We've worked on a number of different projects. He's helped me with my audio for a bunch of videos. And what got you into the love of audio in the first place?
It probably first started, and I'll always go back to Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I watched the prequels came out when I was a young kid, and so those were the Star Wars I grew up watching. Really liked them, and I remember on the DVD special features of Star Wars Episode 2, there was this whole 30-minute documentary on how the audio was done. And I must have been I would have been 8 or 9, somewhere at like pretty young kid. And pretty much at that point is probably where it first piqued my interest. And it was from then that I watched that documentary over and over and over again. That's what piqued my interest, and that's probably what's the whole way inspired me to want to get into audio.
Because I remember even from the earliest days of meeting you at the gaming cafe, you were always into audio. You'd always been working on music, working with voice actors on videos and movies and voice dubs from across the world as well. And you were the first person I came to actually when I wanted to become a creative, and I asked you for advice, and you gave a lot of great advice. And some of the advice I still use to this day and actually recite to other creatives. But what was like your first purchase equipment-wise?
Oh God, it must have been, I think it was my Audio-Technica headphones, and these are like the stock standard ones you see in 90% of any studio performance. It's those Audio-Technica MX50 cans that have been around for 15 years or 10 to 15 years. They've just been industry standard headphones that you see everywhere, and it would have been them.
And I mean, what sort of software were you using in the early days?
At the very, very early days, it was Tractor, which is DJ software, and that's probably where I actually first started getting into the production side of music, as opposed to just being like a listener or an enthusiast or a collector or anything like that. And it wasn't long after that it would have been FL Studio.
The great FL Studio.
Yeah, Fruity Loops. Anyone who's familiar with audio knows what that is.
Fantastic program.
It's kind of got its reputation of being a bit like a toy or a bit childish compared to, say, like Pro Tools and even Ableton. And there's obviously that DAW war that exists there. But like a lot of other digital audio workstations over the years, the technology's come forward. They've all sort of bumped up to try and meet Pro Tools and, you know, all these bigger companies at the industry standard, and tried to get their little niche of the market, I guess.
Well, even if you're not, say, someone that's looking to pursue a career in audio engineering or the back end and production side of things, if you're an artist, FL Studio is a great way to get a beat to be able to practice your craft and your art.
Yeah, look, I'll say it's from the ones that I've used, and I've used 3 or 4 now in my like workflow. They've all got their strengths and weaknesses, and it's a lot of it is personal preference and what you're used to as well. If you've trained yourself on, like, you know, with any other creative programs, you use Photoshop or any sort of program like that, if you're used to the UI and the workflow and the way the systems work in that application, switching to, like, from Premiere to Vegas or into Photoshop into GMP or something, it's going to throw you off a bit, and there's going to be things you can't do that you would have known how to do.
Yes.
And so it's just, again, what you're used to and the applications you're for. So FL Studio is great for hip hop. FL Studio is great for electronic music. There's a lot of big artists that use it for that. It's really good for sound design. It hosts a lot of like just straight up subtractive and additive synthesizers in it. Whereas you'd find something like Ableton and Pro Tools would be more for your mixing and your editing, and a lot of it's just preference, really, at the end of the day.
Now, speaking about equipment, there are obviously, you know, brands and certain, I guess, companies which have a reputation for certain quality of equipment. But when you're starting out, you can't often afford any of that. What are some of the things that creatives can do you think, to maybe get around that high entry point?
Yeah,
is it second-hand gear? Is it looking for alternative brands? Because I know in some cases, like, you've given me great suggestions. I've been looking at expensive, you know, Rode or Yamaha branded equipment, but then you suggested Audio-Technica.
Yeah.
And while they're not as their price is high, well, they have products which are more entry level and more accessible
more
to
affordable,
everyone.
for sure.
More affordable. So, I mean, are those some alternatives? Or?
Yeah, for sure. I think you can look at sort of a combination of a lot of those things. Like when you're getting into any sort of, I guess, hobby or new, you know, potential career.
Have you ever borrowed equipment?
No. I know people do rent equipment. That can very much get into the realm of leasing, similar sort of stuff, and where...
But have friends ever lent you anything? Or?
Oh, there's certainly been, you go to a mate's house and they'll have a keyboard or something lying around, or that's something you can... So yeah, if you've got people that you know that do that stuff, definitely you can chat to them about that, and you can organise that. There are shops that'll do pretty cheap rentals. The only concern with rentals is then you're looking at, if it's an expensive piece of equipment, insurance. And if not, and you break something, especially if you're taking stuff for live shows, which things get broken on the road all the time when you're traveling, you're now looking at then forking out, you know, hundreds or thousands of dollars for this equipment that you in the first place couldn't afford anyway. I always stayed away from leasing. I don't think, if money's not too much of an issue and you're kind of just looking to step your foot in, by all means rent equipment and try it out. Honestly though, it's just buying the essential bits is what will get you through. So if you're doing audio production, you really don't even need studio monitors these days. You can get them, but honestly, a decent set of headphones or cans is something you're going to want. Anywhere from $200 up really is going to cover you for that, and like that's not too bad.
For non-audiophiles, monitors are speakers that you listen to.
Sorry, I should have explained that. Not monitors as in like screens, but
visual monitors.
Yeah, they're
audio
things for monitoring. Yeah, your audio. So they're basically speakers that aren't coloured and don't change the sound in any way, and it tells you exactly what's coming out of the program so that you know what you're listening to is true and correct. So you don't really need them anymore. They used to be considered absolutely 100% essential.
Yeah.
They will help you and they are better, but these days a lot of people are producing in bedrooms, right? Or they're young people who live in apartments and share houses, and
You can't have your monitors blasted.
yeah, the nature of the game has changed in that regard, and it sort of goes back to the barrier for entry is a lot better, and these companies, as you say, have done work to make things more affordable. So really, once you have your headphones, you want to be looking at an audio interface or a DAC, digital audio converter.
Yes. Essential.
That is kind of essential. So that'll be considered the brain or sort of the center of your entire audio routing setup. That would take place of a mixer, essentially. So that's where everything will be coming in and out of, and it'll be how you get stuff in your computer and out of your computer and all your programs. So that's something that you probably shouldn't cheap out on either.
With phantom power.
Yeah, so there's also certain like microphones and equipment that will require electricity to be run separately. It requires like 48 or 24 volts. It'll supply you power. You can plug all your instruments and microphones. It'll do everything for you.
Yeah.
A lot of good entry-level stuff, Focusrite. That's the brand people look at. It's the red boxes. You've seen them probably everywhere if you're into that creative stuff. And that should be where you start, is looking at either like a Focusrite or go for a name brand, Akai, a Rode, someone trusted that you know it's not going to muck up on you. Because if and I've seen this before, people have spent plenty of money on their computer and their programs and all the rest of their equipment, and they cheap out on the audio interface, and it just ruins the whole setup. The audio drops out, they're having problems. It's the one thing you can't cheap on.
I think I have to credit you a lot with how much I considered audio to be an important factor in every aspect of being a creator, especially using the video format. Even though you may be doing a 15-second video, that audio is essential to transporting your audience to what you're trying to depict to them. So it's it is very important. Once you have the money, save it and get the good equipment, because you will notice the difference.
You will. I think there's some validity as well to the idea that starting yourself off on less technically advanced equipment, and perhaps ones lacking with some of those premium features you would expect, will force you and teach you to be better at what you do, be a better practitioner. And that's invaluable to be able to do things when you don't have all the best equipment and all the best options. That's sort of what is going to separate you from other creatives out there that are just following the formula, if you like.
So that would come down to, say, let's say you've got an assignment, you've got a project, you may not necessarily have the best equipment, say, as other audio producers, but you will still make that project happen, won't you? You'll find a way. Yeah,
for sure. And that's a huge part of pretty much any workplace, really, but especially creative work, like industries.
It's finding a workaround and being able to find a solution to get the end result, even though you don't have that $20,000 piece of kit.
Yeah, you need to be able to think outside the box, and like you say, you need to just make things work in the budgets that you work in. And if you start to work in the medium and high level, like set productions and live productions where there's quite a few people rocking around, that'll be something you see a lot. There'll be a lot of taping stuff, zip tying stuff, just getting stuff done because the show has to happen or the production must go through, just like any job. You've just got to get it done.
I think every creative I know now that is like on the go, they'll have their tape on the outside of their bag. I've got mine on the outside of my bag.
Yeah, you'll have like a Leatherman and like some sort of pocket tools.
You've got to lay down that cable, make no one trips.
Yeah, heaps of gaffer tape. Like you'll have these tools that
all
are
your connections, your double.
Yeah, spare cables and connectors and all these little things that, especially when you're starting up, you just won't have. Yeah. And that's fine, but do think about investing in a spare XLR cable for $20, a spare this cable, maybe some spare 3/4 to 1/8 all the adapters and jacks that you need to run different bits of equipment into each other. You don't want to be stuck on set missing a little 3-centimeter piece of metal.
So those adapters, they work across a range of industries: film, lighting, set design, sound design. They are fantastic.
They are good universal.
They're a great way to make friends, and I've lent a couple out. And they're very useful.
Having a little bag full of those little adapters and attachments, like you say, will make you friends on the workplace, and they're vital. Again, you don't want to be left holding the bag, telling an entire production crew to wait because you have to nip to the shops to buy this little piece of metal that, by all rights, you should have about 50 of them on you.
That happened to me once with SD cards.
It's happened to me as well.
I left my whole case of SD cards at home, and I had to go buy some while the client was waiting. And I'd hired a studio out. There was a makeup person that I hired that was waiting for me. The studio, and then someone else that was all on payroll while I run to the shops to get these SD cards.
It's common, and again, you probably said it's in other workplaces as well, but it just looks really bad because when people come in from outside the creative world and outside the production world, and they're the talent or the stars, right?
You don't want to keep them waiting.
You don't, It'd be like if your mechanic had to drive away and go buy parts because you know what I mean. It
doesn't look good.
It would just look bad, and
you want everything to run smoothly.
You want to call back, essentially. You don't want them to go, that guy was unprofessional and unprepared and unorganised, and next time we'll go with his competitor.
Absolutely. Speaking on that, you've actually enforced a lot of good, I guess, practices working professionally, whether it be documenting everything, scripting everything. You've definitely taught me a lot on that. Listen, Minismee, I won't take too much of your time. Guys, I want you to go check out Minismee's... actually, no, hold off. Wait a month, or can they go to your SoundCloud or your YouTube, or what's the best?
You can check out my YouTube, yeah.
I mean, if you go to my collaboration playlist, you'll see a bunch of work that I've done with Minismee, so you'll be able to see his amazing work there. We did a whole series of Balls, a radio show at a radio station where Minismee was the audio engineer, so hopefully we'll have him back as we start to get some more productions in this studio. So thanks for your time, my man.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Guys, I hope by the way, so this new audio equipment is once again thanks to Minismee. He's the one who taught me everything about audio engineering, improving my audio. So we're using compressor mics here. We've got a small, cheap soundboard behind the camera. We've got some lighting, the camera setup. So it's nothing too complicated, but it does make a huge improvement in the quality. And I hope you guys enjoy this. We're gonna have some more productions soon, and then hopefully we can put this guy on payroll and have some really good content coming out. Comment, like below, give Minismee a follow. Peace out.
See ya.